reason I think they could appeal very generally in the white community.
In Victoria, the ANA's champion was Alfred Deakin.
We cannot forget, however, that in this country we are separated only by imaginary lines, and that we are a people, one in blood, race, religion and aspirations.
Alfred Deakin was a quite extraordinary man. He'd been in politics since his early 20s. He'd finished a law degree, he'd done not very much for about a year, there was a by-election and he went into the Victorian Parliament. And he was sort of the boy prodigy. He was extraordinarily widely read, extraordinarily articulate, a man of intense personal charm, but you always had that feeling that there was more than he was showing.
Deakin was a really charismatic type. In fact, he was described as mesmeric at the time. He could mesmerise people. He had a very bright eye and engaging manner, but even more than that, in his youth he was involved with spiritualism, and which was a kind of belief in the ability to get in touch with the spirits of people who were dead and gone. And he believed himself that he could do this. He was in touch with various people, including the author of Pilgrim's Progress and other people.
We separated full of hope and confidence in the early establishment of an Australian Union.
At the end of the convention, a small group went for a cruise. In Victoria, a new group was making its presence felt. First formed in 1871 in Melbourne, the Australian Natives Association saw themselves as the way of the future. To be a member, you had to be born in Australia and you had to be white. Branches of the ANA began sprouting in all the colonies.
They understood themselves to be the hereditary nobility of mankind. It's a nice phrase, by which they meant that the British race was the greatest race the world had ever seen, and they, as the descendants of that race, who were born, they thought, in a good environment in Australia, would actually produce an even greater race. And it was that kind of understanding which then underpinned their attitude to white Australia and keeping out black and yellow people. And for that very reason, I think they could appeal very generally in the white community.